So I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar, which is part of a series being delivered by the SEND Progression Partnership. Today, the webinar is on post-16 options for SEND students in Medway, specifically aimed at parents and carers, but useful for anyone supporting SEND students or students themselves. So welcome to all of you. The presentation will be led by Jackie Moran, who delivers careers guidance for CXK and is an independent career guidance practitioner specialising in SEND, special educational needs and disabilities. We are also joined by Nina Minhard, who oversees the SEND local offer for Medway Council and will be able to provide some updates on the work that she is currently doing on the local offer. The presentation will be made available after the webinar, and we will email this to you along with some other useful handouts. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jackie Moran to get started with the presentation.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, my presentation will be more or less between 20 and 25 minutes. And this time I've focused my presentation particularly for parents and carers of young people with SEN. So I do actually have other resources which are more relevant for career advisors and transition coordinators, but I won't be sharing them in this presentation. Okay, so here we go. So we're focusing on post-16 SEN options in Medway. And the aim of my presentation is to explore post-16 provision in Medway for SEN young learners with or without EHCPs. As you know, EHCP, we mean by that education, health, and care plans, and those who also have SEN but without an EHCP plan. This will be an overview, so I won't be able to cover every service, post-16 service, but it will give you a taster of what there is in Medway and also part of Kent. Okay, right, I'm just moving something here. Okay, so one of the things is what do we define as SEN? And during and post-pandemic, or actually we're still in the pandemic, SEND, or the idea of SEND, has actually increased because we are also including young people who may be school refusals, young people who are vulnerable or live in poverty, young people who may have been masking that they were well, but during the pandemic, it has actually been apparent they have mental and emotional health problems and challenges. I've tried to make this as simple as possible because the landscape is quite complicated. Now I'll go to my next slide. So I'll skip this because as we know, the most important thing is the definition of SEN according to the SEN Code of Practice 2015. And one of the important things about SEN is that you will find SEN in pupil referral units, in specialist schools which specialize in mental health and emotional health, young people with mental health and emotional health problems. We'll see them in further education college, in youth offender teams, in hospitals. So, and also, as I said before, in mainstream education, which is more the highest percentage of where you actually will encounter young people with SEN. One thing I think, and I have found this very useful, and I've used it with parents and also with young people, is the concept of a spiky profile. And I've added this because I found that this model actually helps explain to young people and their parents that a young person may have incredible abilities in some areas and find challenges in others. And typically, I mean, we're using today the word SEN, but I sometimes like to use neurodiverse learners. You might have heard this sometimes in other forums. And that means that a young person may excel and have strengths in certain areas like spatial ability to actually see fine details, maybe global thinking, but can see things in a 3D way, but might have poor management skills or may suffer from sensory overload. And this is very common within the group of young people we SEND, or what I call neurodiverse. And it's all linked also with what we call, or commonly call, working memory, which is examples of, in terms of managing their day-to-day, organizing their work, being able to remember things, which does affect the way their education, and also affects in terms of training and at the end employment. So and that is where maybe some form of reasonable adjustments can be and will be very useful without necessarily having EHCP implemented. So I've tried to divide this or present in three pathways, because I find it much easier. And I use this model when I'm working with young people and also their parents, because I find that if I show them, if I show them all the plethora of options, it is very, very confusing. So I start usually, and we're going to start, I've divided in three pathways, and I've color-coded, because I also find that color coding does help focus in the different areas, because it's quite confusing and overwhelming. So we're going to take now a look at the pathways, possible pathways number 1, which are supported internships. And this would be very suitable for young people who either post-16 or post-18 who have an EHCP plan. And they can do this actually going, doing a supported internship, or they can go to specialist sixth forms, which I will talk about later, or residential colleges, which that actually is quite difficult to get, but I should mention it as part of the option. And this you usually coordinate in year 10 with your transition coordinator. And it's something that doing the, when you're doing an annual review and selecting what are your options post-16, this is where you'll be starting the young person and their parents thinking about what are the next steps after year 11. Right, so if we look at this, this is a nice diagram of, in terms of what these different options can lead to. All of them, you did be a referral. We've got supported internships, and supported internships tend to be by more or less 12 months. It is specifically for young people who have an EHCP plan, and that can lead either to a traineeship, or can lead directly to paid work, or it could also lead to an apprenticeship. If it was an apprenticeship, the good thing about an apprenticeship is that that would lead to obtaining paid work, and at the same time obtaining qualification, a level 2 or 3 qualification, or even higher. A traineeship only gives you work experience. You can get supported traineeships, and that tends to be 6 months, and then go to an apprenticeship. Or you could actually refer directly to an apprenticeship, and apprenticeships can be for, well, anybody between 16, there's no age limit, but there are things called supported apprenticeships, and that can be, you can either use access to work, or depending on the level of the apprenticeship, continue with your EHCP support. Now, again, as I say, in an apprenticeship, you do get a qualification at the same time that you do get paid. These are the agencies that do support different type of internships. We have BMEX, and we also have MenCap, and I've actually put the requirements for each one. We've got the Forward to Employment, which is a more recent trust, which is offering supported internships, very successful. To the best of my knowledge, you have to be 18 to start there, but it's always worth inquiring. And then through Medway does have a specific supported employment through specialist employment, which you can use the link here to find out more about it. Now, the other areas that also lead to a post-16 training are what you call study programs. And these are usually more suited for young people who may not want to go to college or are not ready necessarily, are not really interested in doing an internship or an apprenticeship, but want to go to maybe a more bespoke place training provider. And we do have here, for example, Catch 22, which offer a level, even though they're in Maidstone, I do know young people from Medway who attend Catch 22. You don't need to have an EHCP plan to attend Catch 22 or have SEN. But the important thing is that they do, sorry, let me go back. They do have bespoke programs starting from a level 1 qualification. And they do also focus on English and math, and also social development and employability skills and functional skills. We also have cybersecurity, and they offer a traineeship starting from a level 2 certificate. This is also open to all young people, including SEN and those with EHCP. And it could lead to an intermediate apprenticeship. This is always subject to funding, so you do need to double check if they're still offering it and at when are the dates for recruitment. And then we have here Physical Folk, which is a specialized project which supports young people also in Kent and Medway, and using drama and film, trying to re-engage them back into education. So they do get some qualifications, but it is also a lot of confidence building and getting that young person interested in re-engaging with education. So hopefully they won't be at risk of being NEETs. Okay, this is jumping about. Other study programs are Squirrels. That is a very specialized study program. And that is particularly suitable for young people with or without an EHCP plan, young people interested in working with horses. They can get an approved equine learning certificate. And this is being certified by BHS, which is a Changing Lives Through Horses, and it's very successful. They also would be doing and working along with their math and English, either at GCSE level or functional skills. We also have Super Jam, which is again for 16 to 18 or 19 if you have an EHCP plan, and they're based also in Swanley or Canterbury. And you can also obtain a Rock School Music Diploma, functional skills, math and English, and very much focus on soft skills like confidence building, timekeeping, and motivation. And they do actually get to go to concerts and help out in terms of the whole setting up the music section in live concerts. And we also have NACRO. NACRO is for 16 to 18-year-olds. You don't have to have SEN or EHCP, but many young people with SEN and EHCP who feel that college is not for them. Again, they tend to be reluctant learners who find big groups a bit overwhelming, and they can continue their GCSEs along with some vocational qualifications and BTECs. Sometimes they might start there and then decide to continue afterwards to college. So it's a good stepping stone from NACRO to then afterwards decide to enter to college, or if not, an apprenticeship or employment. Other programs, which are short programs, is the Princess Trust. It is very much focused for what I would call disengaged and reluctant learners. They're very much bespoke programs. You don't necessarily have to have SEN or EHCP, but young people with SEN and EHCP are more than welcome to attend these programs. They have areas from digital marketing, health and social care. I should say that in health and social care, they are linked with NHS health and social care, Medway NHS, to get pathways into working with the NHS. There's photography, makeup, and many other things. So my best advice is to sign up to get hot from the press any new training that the Princess Trust offers. We've got RHTS. Now, RHTS does, it is for young people with EHCP. They cater for very small groups, especially young people who might be quite shy or reluctant to be in big groups like in college, and are interested in following a career within the construction industry. And we also have Be Yourself, which I also will further on will explain about another recent qualification that's come up. And Be Yourself is organized by Medway Information Advice and Guidance team and the youth team there. They have employability programs. There's an ASDA employability short course with the support out of an advisor. And they also have special incentives. And hopefully with that, the young person can learn how to do their CV, how to practice for interviews, and learn much more in terms of the world of work and link with local employers in the area of Medway. Now, this is what I want to say. This I just found out yesterday, and we've got this information about a new course, which is a CSCS card fully funded opportunity for young people between 16 and 21 years old, or 25 if they have an EHCP. And they can then obtain their green laborers card and CSCS course if they pass the course. We have, or I said Katrina does have, you have to refer, if you're at school, there's a referral or a form that needs to be completed, or a transition coordinator can also complete it on behalf of the young person. They must be not in education, employment, or training. But having said that, if they're at risk, this is if they're in year 11, 12, or 13, at risk of being NEETs and not engaging at school, they also would qualify to be able to attend to this program. So further information, please email beyourself@medway.gov.uk. Now, this is pathway number 2. And this is really for those young people who are practically nearly work ready, who are much more interested, not necessarily going to college, but going or sixth form, but want to start actually entering the world of work. And it is open for young people with or without EHCP. And they would be able to get support depending on the level of apprenticeship, either for access to work, for a job coach, or continue getting support through their EHCP plan if it's under a level 3 qualification. I will then continue to the next one. So apprenticeships and traineeships plus access to work. And so, again, we have different levels of apprenticeships. I should actually say that even though it is expected that young people complete a level 4 in GCSEs, English and math, and at least 5 GCSEs, sometimes the employer, if that young person shows incredible interest in a certain area, let's say it's construction, bricklaying, and can prove that they are capable of doing it, then the employer, what they might do is say that they will continue doing their GCSEs or functional skills as they do the apprenticeships. One of the features about apprenticeships, as we know, is it's 80% work and 20% training. That means that they are treated like any other employee. They get holiday pay, they get sick pay, they will have a proper contract. And then 20% of the week, that means 5 days a week, 1 day would be a day off where they would be doing training either with a particular training provider or at college. That depends particularly from what type of apprenticeship and the relationship they have with their local training provider or college. And then we have traineeship, which we've heard of traineeships before, but there's a new kind of a sub-traineeship, which is under the Kickstart funding. And for that, the young person has to be on universal credit and over 6 months unemployed. And if you need further information about traineeships under Kickstart funding, please contact either your local job center or if not CXK, where there is someone specializing in traineeship under the Kickstart funding sector or program. Again, they will get support if they have additional needs, access to work, and also support with English and math. One of the good things about traineeships, they do not get paid and they do not get a qualification, is that it is and is considered as a gateway to apprenticeships. And that is the big value about traineeships. There is a lot of hands-on work experience with local employers. Okay, so now we're actually looking at, again, pathway number 2, which is apprenticeships. And they're all different types of apprenticeships. And my best advice is if a young person wants to know about apprenticeships, is that they sign up with the government's page for apprenticeships and traineeships, and actually make an account there, and then narrow it down to the area and subject. But I'm just highlighting now some of the providers in Kent that also cover Medway that do slightly more specialized apprenticeships because they have local relationships with employers in Kent and Medway. And one is Kent Trainee Apprenticeships, where they offer intermediate apprenticeships and also traineeships for 16 to 24-year-olds. And that is for young people with SEN or without SEN and with EHCP. We've got Parenta, which specializes in childcare apprenticeships. And again, they will give you extra support if you haven't completed or you didn't do well in your GCSEs and you got below for English and math. They will try to support that young person to either repeat their GCSEs or move on to functional skills. And another source of looking for apprenticeships is Apprentice Kent, which also has a whole list of apprenticeships for post-16 learners in the Kent area. So as you can see, there is a lot around there, sometimes a bit confusing and overwhelming. Right, so now we're finally getting to pathway number 3. Now, pathway number 3, again, is for SEN with or without EHCP plan, but who are maybe more looking towards going into either further education or higher education, and possibly either from there going into work or if not, university. So we've got higher degree and degree apprenticeships, which are equivalent to, depending on the apprenticeship, to a university degree, and it's aligned with a particular university. And those tend to be between 2 to 3 or 4 years. You've got T levels, which are new, or new from last year, and you would need to check your local college to see what they're offering in T-levels. And T-levels are now equivalent to 3 A-levels. They have more time in terms of work experience than your BTECs. BTECs generally tend to be 2 A-levels, and they can be counted towards going to university. These are T-levels. We will we have a really good handout which explains in detail the difference between traineeships and apprenticeship and T-levels, and that will be sent to you via email once we finish this presentation. And then we have university, mainstream university. Right, so we've got, as we know, there is this partnership which I wanted to highlight, which is a partnership, which is a sixth form within, sixth form within Mid-Kent College. They have a branch in Medway and Maidstone, and it is specifically for young people with EHCP. Mid-Kent College also has other programs specifically for young people with EHCP, and Hadlow College too, and North Kent College. So you do have in both, in the 3 centres and colleges, both a section which is for those with that need additional help but do not have EHCP but should go and get additional help, and particular programs specifically for those who have EHCP. And these can be programs starting from entry level to level 3 and above. And I would urge you or the young person to look at the virtual days, open days, if some of the places are open, and also talk with the career advisors from those different colleges. And then here are some examples of 2 specialized schools that have sixth forms. One is Bradfields Academy, which has a sixth form, and that you do have to have an EHCP, and it's usually for young people with complex learning disabilities and difficulties. There is a lot of support for those young people there, and you can progress from there to a supported internship. And then you do have Blue Sky School, which also has a provision for autistic young people, including a 19 to 25 provision. So you do have a whole progression from secondary school to 25. They do have that. And they're linked with Mid-Kent College, but the provision is actually at the school most of the time. And here are some of the places, because I know I've overwhelmed you with so much information, and where you can find specifically more information for young people and for their families and parents. You've got choices for young people, and you can click there. You can click on Kent Send Hub. And also for more further support and specific requirements and entry requirements, etc., there's also information, advice and support, which is independent from Kent County Council. So, right, now we're going to post-16, but thinking about those young people who actually really want to go into more an academic route. They might actually be very interested in certain subjects. You've got, for example, the college, Industry College Waterfront, which tends to be a technical college. You've also got universities like University of the Creative Arts, which has an extended national diploma, which from there on could lead to entering university, and they certainly cater for young people with disabilities. And then you do have Kent Access Entrance Diploma, which is a combination of social sciences, science and social sciences. It's instead of doing your A levels, you've decided to take this route, and that also will from there you would actually enter university. You would get support either depending on the level of the training, or I should say course you're doing either through your EHCP plan or DSA, because now we're looking at to university and support as a university student. So as you can see, there's a big overlap between these three. So each one can lead to different pathways. And I just put here very quickly, if any of the parents or you as an advisor needed more support by a particular, particularly with the HCP plans and what is in what the parent wants and what the young person wants and what the school says the young person needs, you can get independent advice through Disability Rights UK. There's a Disabled Students Helpline. You can also get advice through Medway Parents and Carers. And also IPSA also has an advice line, which especially if you are deciding that you don't agree with what the local provision is, IPSA has a lot of information of how to present your case on the Ascend Tribunal before it goes to Ascend Tribunal. I also put here the Thomas Pocklington Trust, which is also specialist advice and guidance for visually impaired learners, and they have absolutely fantastic webinars, all free, which I really invite career advisors and parents to explore. And as I said, my 4 takeaways would be, when you're working with that young person, look at their strengths, look at their spiky profile, look at their interests and their pet subjects. Usually SEND students or neurodiverse students tend to be more specialist and generous. I definitely would sign up to see what Be Yourself, Medway, the information advice and guidance team there. Sign up to Facebook. And we will talk a little bit later about the SEND local offer. And I also would sign up to Kent Education and Children's Hub, all about sixth forms and everything. So to be updated. And also they do also give webinars and information. Right, so I've kind of come to the end of my presentation. But before we come to questions from the group here, from the participants, I'd like to introduce you to Nina, who is the SEND local officer, and invite her to explain a bit more about the SEND local offer and explore the website. So over to you, Nina.
Great, thank you, Jackie. That was really good. So I can't see myself, but I hope you can all see me. I'm not sure, but I will carry on anyway. So yeah, my name is Nina. I am the local offer officer at Medway Council. So what I do is I oversee the local offer website and just make sure that all the information on there is accessible, engaging and up to date. And for those of you that don't know what the local offer is, it's an information hub. Basically, it should be a central hub for information, advice and guidance for young people with SEND and their parents and carers. And we work very closely with parents and carers to co-produce the local offer and make sure that all of the information that's on there is easily accessible and interesting. And the information that's on there is everything. It's about all of the services available in Medway, in the local area, from health and education to social care. So I will just quickly share my screen just to give you an idea. Some of you may be aware of the local offer already, some of you may not. So I will just quickly show you Medway's local offer. So I hope you can all see that. So this is Medway's local offer, and on here you can go through all of the different sections to hopefully find any information that you may need. about education, health and wellbeing, social care, activities and things to do, money advice, preparing for adulthood as well. And we also have a directory of services. And within that directory of services, you should be able to find any information about any services, any of the provisions available in Medway, including post-16 options. So a lot of the service providers that Jackie mentioned just now will be in our directory as well. So if you wanted to find out information about Bradfields Academy or Forward to Employment and about supported internships, as you can see that here, then you can search them and you can find them. There you go, there's BMIX and Bradfields Academy. So there's loads of really useful information on there. We also have a newsletter which goes out monthly as well, which features articles from service providers. And I myself am working on a huge project to, I'll stop sharing quickly. I'm working on a huge project to completely revamp the local offer and make it even better, and create a social media presence as well, so that young people can access information that way. And there you'll be able to find loads of information on a regular basis about what's sort of happening in Medway, what's going on, what you can do, and what options there are out there for you. So it should be, fingers crossed, a really useful tool and a really useful resource where you can just find any of the information that you might need. So yeah, definitely take a look. And if you want to sign up to the newsletter as well, you can find that on the website, and look out for a lot of updates that are going to be coming over the next few weeks and months to the local offer. So yeah, thank you.